Let's war rolling and let's thug. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas thug. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Draw open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling atlas thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.
What is up? How's it going, Jay? How's it going, TNT? Good to see you guys in chat. So tonight we have a pretty interesting show. It's funny doing the Saturday episodes that we do, considering just watching YouTube today. A lot of people were talking about today, the events over the weekend, which is things that we brought to you first on Saturday. So, although we're not a very big show yet, we are on top of the breaking news. And if you were here on Saturday, you knew quite a bit about what was going on as it relates to, Iran and Israel, the assassination in Minnesota of the representatives and the representative and some of that. Although that was just breaking that day, so we didn't know everything. We know much more about it at this point. And, we'll actually review and highlight and, kind of get caught up to speed with everything that's relating to that. But, welcome to tonight's live stream. We're going to dive into the heart of American politics and culture. I'm Tyler, and this is the Jar Openers podcast, celebrating what makes America strong, free, and united. From our factories to our military, whatever color your collar is, we're talking about the issues that matter to you, the proud Americans watching at home. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys spending some time with me on this Monday, right? It's a Monday. Tonight, I've got a packed lineup after this weekend's madness of events. First, I'll unpack the assassination of Minnesota Representative. We'll talk about the ensuing manhunt of Vance Boelter and what lawmakers are calling Minnesota's largest manhunt in history, which has led to his arrest this afternoon. Trump is expected to offer Iran a last chance proposal, and that they, insisting that they need to talk, which we'll have a look at. We have some updates coming out of the Middle East after a weekend of war between Israel and Iran. And then Comic Dave Smith came out and made a public statement basically apologizing for voting for Donald Trump, seemingly over Trump trying to negotiate with Iran here in this, this last chance proposal. We'll have a look at that as well. And then I also have a story from the Gateway Pundit talking about how Trump's mass deportations are already affecting American wages in a positive way. So we'll talk about all that and more. Now, guys, make sure that you smash the like button, double check you're subscribed to the channel, and as always, absolutely share the show with everybody you know. Now let's get into this first topic here with the Minnesota lawmaker. The Minnesota lawmaker killings, I should say. Glad to see you back, TNT, by the way. Glad to see you back, brother. So Vance Boelter, 57, faces first-degree murder charges for killing Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, and also gravely injuring Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, in a shooting. The motive appears tied to political grievances, echoing a 2017 congressional baseball practice. You guys might remember that, where Steve Scalise was shot and almost killed amongst some other people from, I believe it was a radical Bernie supporter back then. Excuse me, I gotta take a drink. I got my electrolytes in my Mio water tonight. TNT says he's out in the yard chilling, gorgeous day. That's awesome. It was a nice day here, actually. It was a little warm. It was in the 90s, but it was breezy, and I was able to get quite a bit of yard work done. It's getting to the point now here in Florida where we got to mow weekly, almost, more often than every 7 days. I hate weed eating. I have so much area to weed eat, so it's one of my least favorite things, but I always like jumping on the mower. Today I even did the edging of the driveway and sidewalk and curb out to the street and everything, so it was a massive undertaking this afternoon for me. I had to come inside and cool off a couple times, but got it all done, got showered and refreshed, and now I can just chill and talk to you guys and spend the rest of the evening and know I got a bunch of stuff done around the house, which I prefer get things done that don't just regrow within a week. The progress just doesn't seem to get made up. Doesn't feel as good, you know what I mean? It's kind of just a never-ending sinkhole, but you guys do. I mean, you guys mow your yard, you know what it's like. But we're already into the season down here, so that's all right. A little bit of drought actually put it off a little bit further in the year than normal, which I'm happy about that. Cold and rainy up there for you, Chris. What's up, Chris? What's up, Jamie? Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Yep. So let's see here. What we got here? This let me actually move this over and let me set up the screen share now. We got a bunch on this this Vance Boelter dude. We're just gonna run through a bunch of things I've set aside. Try to get caught up with everything that's led us to this point today. All right. Guys, let me know if the audio is okay, if I'm echoing or anything like that. It should be okay. I don't hear anything on my end, but yeah, Jay, you saw Tucker has turned on Trump. I had that statement saved, but I kind of read over it in the last show, so I took it out of the outline. Probably should have kept it in there just for clarity on that. But yeah, I saw that too. There's a big division amongst Trump supporters, or it seems to be a big division amongst Trump supporters as it relates to the war in Israel or the war in Iran or wherever it is. I guess in both places. Hey, what's up, Lola Marble? Good to see you. We'll start here. We just got a bunch to run through. I didn't put these things in any particular order, so I tried to, but we'll just see. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, Tucker's been wrong a shitload of times. Yeah, I think he's definitely worse off now than he was, just production value wise when he was at Fox, just because he doesn't have that team around him. I think his team was a big factor for what he was doing. But got this post here. It says the plot thickens. Democrat shills are insisting that Vance Boelter lived in a small house with a Papa John's delivery guy who swears he's a Trump supporter, swears that Boelter is a Trump supporter. The reality is he's married with a family and owns a sprawling property in a very large home. And so that's something that we talked about. Tix gave me crap over in the last show, saying I got a little excited talking about his property. Just look at all this lush grass. I mean, this is all mowed. I don't know why that was popped up there. It's all mowed, looks nice. But this is apparently his actual home. But for some reason, the Democrats are claiming that he lives in a very small house with this Papa John's delivery guy, who we're going to hear from. He actually made a public statement, so we're going to hear from his roommate. It's so weird, because I even saw a lot of people on Saturday when this news was breaking thinking that Vance Boelter, a large majority of people, or a large amount of people, I won't say majority, were thinking that this dude is just a patsy. He's not really even the shooter, or that he didn't act alone, at least. And so, let's see. He's overcompensating for supporting Desert Storm. Well, I missed that. Sorry. Oh, you guys are throwing me off. Okay, Tucker. Yeah. Although I like Tucker, I'm just saying I think he's fallen off a little bit since he's exited Fox News. Where was I? So there's a big controversy going on between who is Vance Boelter. Not like, I mean, we know who he is, right? He's a 57-year-old dude. Was appointed by Tim Walz. Seems to be surrounded by Democrats. Yet the Democrats want to insist that this dude is which I believe he is an ex-pastor, but they want to say that he's a conservative Republican that registered in 2004 as a Republican, and they're saying that he voted in 2024 for Donald Trump. I don't know. Really, I don't know if it matters to me. That doesn't really fit the MO of Trump supporters or Republicans to do these types of things. They always seem to inevitably, write the manifesto, which seems like a lefty thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's weird. But the fact that he attacked Democrats, he had a list of individuals. I believe it was like up to 70 people. All of them, from what I understand, were or are Democrats. So it's really conflicting. I mean, the fact that he had no kings, like people were calling them flyers, but they look like they were just written in pen in his car. It's confusing. So there's just people out here taking hard stances that he was MAGA, and there's people that are taking hard stances that he's a lefty. And to me, the fact that Tim Walz appointed him speaks loud enough for me, because we know Democrats don't give an inch to a Republican, especially a Trump supporter. So that either speaks to Tim Walz's ineptability, which is valid, or to the fact that this dude is really just truly a Democrat, and they're trying to cope, right? They just can't accept it, that one of theirs is another one of theirs. Yeah, TNT, that's a good point. A conservative wouldn't delete people for voting to abolish illegals getting free healthcare. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people on the right are saying, was that this was motivated. The person that he actually killed was the only Democrat who voted against giving free healthcare to illegals. So, would make that person maybe a target, potentially. Yeah, his wife also works for Tim Walz. Thank you, Chris. And there's all kinds of other weird stuff going on here. I want to read through this article from Fox News. Yeah, Fox News. Minnesota lawmaker shootings. Vance Boelter charges reveal more about the shootings. And so, after a 2-day manhunt, Vance Boelter has been arrested. Court documents unsealed Sunday night reveal more about the shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. Rep. Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were fatally shot by Boelter in their Brooklyn Park home, court documents allege, while Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were injured in a shooting at their Champlain I thought Champlain. Anyways, home early Saturday morning. Boelter will be held on $5 million bail in the state charges. Court documents say Boelter may also face federal charges. I've heard that the federal charges are actually going to supersede the state charges in this, and they're negotiating the going after the death penalty, I believe. So what we know is that Boelter, 57, was arrested by authorities near Glen Isle Sunday night after a 43-hour manhunt in which officials say the largest manhunt was the largest manhunt in state history that involved more than 20 SWAT teams. He was charged via warrant in Hennepin County with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, according to court documents that were unsealed after his arrest. Which is interesting because second-degree murder, you would think this was premeditated, like first-degree murder. The dude modified his car to look like, a police vehicle undercover. He put a mask on. He had a list. There's a manifesto, or maybe there isn't, because there was reports of a manifesto, and now they're calling them writings. So, the shroud of cloudiness and doubt have been cast upon this whole story. Let's see here. What the court documents say. According to court documents, just after 2 a.m. on June 14th, Champlain, whatever it is, officers responded to a shooting at Hoffman's house. The 911 call reported that a masked person had come to their door and shot their parents. Surveillance video from outside the house showed a Ford SUV with police-style lights parked in the driveway of the Hoffman's home. Court documents read the video also showed who was believed to be Boelter wearing a mask, blue shirt, and police-style tactical vest with a badge and flashlight. Boelter then knocked on the door, announced himself as a police officer, then entered the home and shot Senator Hoffman and Yvette. Court documents say. He then fled the home. Those are the two that I believe those are the two that survived. That was the first home that he went to. He then, let's just continue here. I want to read through this whole article. So charges say a short time later that Brooklyn Park Police learned of the shooting in Champlain because Senator Hoffman was one of the victims of that shooting. Police sent officers to the home of Rep. Hortman, who lived nearby. When police arrived at Hortman's home around 3:30 a.m., they saw the police-style SUV that Boelter was driving. Court documents state officers then immediately saw Boelter shoot Rep. Hortman's husband, Mark, through the open door of the home. Court documents allege. Police then exchanged gunfire with Boelter as he fled inside the Hortman's home and escaped the area. Court documents say inside, officers found Rep. Hortman and her husband dead from gunshot wounds. I believe the report also was that when he ran in through the home, they could hear the gunshots, which would immediately directly indicate that he was firing upon the homeowners. I don't know why. Maybe it's a Minnesota gun law thing. I don't know why they weren't armed themselves. And additionally, this happening at 3:30 in the morning, with him being in a police looking vehicle and dress up, uniform, makes me wonder even more so, how are we supposed to handle a police officer knocking on our door at 3:30 in the morning, right? I don't have the answer for that, but I know with all the swattings and things like that have been going on as well, there might need to be, in as it relates to this, there might need to be some adjustments done to swattings because, as this turns out, these folks would have been much better not opening the door, using a camera. I don't suggest opening the door armed. If you have a police officer on the other side, that is definitely not something you should do. But nevertheless, 3:30 in the morning, you got to be cautious of yourself. So I mean, just who do you trust? What do you believe? I've heard that you can call 911 and ask if the person at your door is an actual police officer. But other than that, I don't know. I guess maybe if it's a swatting, there's going to be more than one car. It'll be much more clear, and they might go ahead and just break your door down. I don't know how that works, but hopefully I'll never find out either. Yeah, I see that TNT, and they did. He even got their family dog in the one where he got the where he actually killed the couple. So, let's see here. Okay, so then continuing here, according to the criminal complaint, officers searched inside Boelter's vehicle and found at least 3 AK-47. It says assault rifles. I'm gonna assume that's just the Democrat verbiage. I'm more than willing to bet at least a couple dollars that they weren't full on, like, by definition assault rifles with the semi-auto switch, right? They're just actually the civilian type AR, semi-automatic, one pull, one fire type of weapons. Nothing automatic, nothing with the switch, burst fire switch or anything like that. Like a true assault rifle, just to be, I don't know, to go off on a tangent. To be clear, I don't think they were true assault rifles. They could have been, whatever. A 9mm handgun and a list of names and addresses of other public officials. Court document states. Law enforcement also searched the surrounding area and also located a ballistic vest, a disassembled. I put dismembered and disassembled together. A disassembled 9mm firearm, a mask, and a gold police style badge. So what's the Hoffman family statement? Hoffman family released a statement Sunday after Boelter was arrested. First and foremost, John and I hold a deep and profound gratitude for the work of our law enforcement agencies and the public for their help in bringing the suspect to justice while diligently keeping our communities safe during the extremely difficult and senseless event. John and I are both incredibly lucky to be alive. We continue our healing journey and are humbled by our outpouring of love and support our family has received from across the state and our nation. There's never a place for senseless political violence and loss of life. We are devastated by the loss of Melissa and Mark, and our hearts go out to all those who knew and loved them both. We are always at our best when we unite together. So there's a timeline here. I don't want to read through. I guess we'll read through the whole timeline here, but because I'm hoping that it includes the stop that he made, because there was a stop that he made at a house to get somebody else, but apparently they weren't home. So lucky for them that they weren't home. But let's see here. Senator Hoffman. Okay, so we're actually going to skip over the timeline because I have the other part right here. Let's see, this is right here. Yeah, okay, so got this article here from KXAN. I'm not sure who that is, but suspect in shootings of Minnesota state lawmakers targeted 2 others that night, prosecutors say. So the man charged with killing 1 Minnesota lawmaker and wounding another meticulously planned the shootings and intended to inflict more carnage against those on his hit list, driving to homes of 2 other legislators on the night of the attacks, a federal prosecutor said on Monday. But one of the state lawmakers was on vacation, and the suspect left the other house after police arrived Saturday. Acting U.S. Attorney Joseph Thompson said. So investigators say Vance Boelter appeared to spend months prepping for the shootings, but this wasn't premeditated, remember. The latest in a string of political attacks across the U.S., his hit of potential targets contained dozens of names, including officials in at least 3 other states. In Minnesota, Boelter carried out surveillance missions, took notes on the homes of the people he targeted, and disguised himself as a police officer just before the shootings, Thompson said. It's no exaggeration to say the crimes are the stuff of nightmares. that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares, he said. Boelter surrendered to police Sunday night after they found him in the woods near his home after a massive 2-day search. He's accused of fatally shooting. Okay, so we know that. I want to get to the part where it talks about the stop at the other place, really. Okay, so all the politicians named in the writings were Democrats, including more than 45 state and federal officials in Minnesota, Thompson said. Elected leaders in Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin said they too were mentioned in his writings. Democratic Rep. Esther Agbaji. Too many of these names. We need more Smiths in things like that in representative leadership. Anyways, whose district includes parts of Minneapolis, said she stayed with friends and family over the weekend after learning that her name appeared on the list of targets. She returned home only after learning the suspect had been caught. It was only today that you can sort of begin to exhale, she said. Authorities declined to reveal the names of the other two lawmakers whose homes were targeted but escaped harm. Okay, so they're not giving up the names of that house. Democratic Senator Ann Rest said she was told the suspect parked near her home on Saturday. She said in a statement, that the quick action of law enforcement officers saved her life. Okay, so there was a couple close calls with this dude. Apparently, Boelter sent a text to a family group chat after the shootings and said, "Dad went to war last night. I don't want to say more because I don't want to implicate anybody," according to an FBI affidavit. His wife got another text that said, "Words are not going to explain how sorry I am for the situation. There's going to be some people coming to the house armed and trigger happy, and I don't want you guys around," the affidavit said. The police later found his wife in a car with her children. Officers found 2 handguns, about $10,000 in cash, and passports for the wife and her children, according to the affidavit. So, the wife and children seem to be maybe headed to Canada, right? Up there in Minnesota, maybe trying to get out of the country. Not sure, but a lot of cash, passports. Definitely knew something was going on. But just hours after the shooting Saturday, Boelter bought an electronic bike and a Buick sedan from someone he met at a bus stop in Minneapolis. The federal affidavit said police found the sedan abandoned on the highway Sunday morning. Let's see here. So here's some events. Drew Evans, superintendent of the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, said the rampage likely would have continued had Brooklyn Park officers not checked on Hortman's home, causing Boelter to flee. So that was smart on their behalf. Probably the smartest thing that law enforcement has done in this whole thing. I kind of think overall this might be a black eye on the law enforcement for letting him get away in the first place. But look, I'm not there. I'm not law enforcement. But I can't help but wonder if Minnesota's woke DEI policies might have well, first of all, cost 2 lives because they just stood by while he rampaged through the home and killed the 2 people. And then also might have failed in the manhunt proceeding after that. Democrats will just throw more money at it to get it fixed, to fix a problem, and that's probably what they did, considering it was the largest manhunt in Minnesota history. But the Hoffmans were attacked first in their home in Champlin. Their adult daughter called 911 to say a masked person had come to the door and shot her parents. Boelter had shown up carrying a flashlight, 9mm handgun, and wearing a black tactical vest and a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Thompson said, "I don't think that mask was hyper-realistic at all." But whatever. You guys saw the mask. I don't have a quick reference to it to pull up and show you guys. But yeah, the mask was not hyper-realistic. Let's just be real. But He first knocked and shouted, "This is the police." At one point, the Hoffmans realized he was wearing a mask, and Boelter told them this is a robbery. After Senator Hoffman tried to push Boelter out of the door, Boelter shot him repeatedly, then shot his wife, the prosecutor said. A statement released Sunday by Yvette Hoffman said her husband underwent several surgeries. He took 9 bullet hits. I took 8, and we are both incredibly lucky to be alive, the statement said. That's 17 trigger pulls, or maybe 1 bullet hit both of them. Interesting number for a magazine size. When police in nearby Brooklyn Park learned that a lawmaker had been shot, they sent patrol officers to check on the Hortman's home. Officers arrived just in time to see Boelter shoot Mark Hortman through the open door of the home and exchange gunfire with Boelter, who fled into the home before escaping, the complaint said. Melissa Hortman was found dead inside. According to the document, their dog was also shot and had to be killed. I don't like talking about the innocent animals. What's up, Andrea? Let's see. Let me get caught up on chat here real quick. Sugar issues. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get caught up here. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't eat sugar. I drink it. Okay. Yeah, the country dodged a Waltz mall attack. That's for sure. Okay, so continuing here. The search for motives continue. Writings recovered from the fake police vehicle included the name of lawmakers and community leaders, along with abortion rights advocates and information about healthcare facilities, said 2 law enforcement officials who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss details on the ongoing investigation. Friends and former colleagues interviewed by the AP described Boelter as a devout Christian who attended an evangelistic church and went to campaign rallies for President Donald Trump. Boelter also is a former political appointee who served on the same state workforce development board as Hoffman. Records showed, though it was not clear if they knew each other. So, yeah, I believe that's it for that article. But let's take a look over here. Hey, what up, King? Finally, we can start. Good Lord. I got to start over. I just read 2 articles. Flawlessly, by the way. Start over, Tyler. The king has spoken. Good stuff. Thank you, Atlas. Atlas is here? I didn't see him. Where's Atlas? Somebody said thank you, Atlas. What? Yeah, I don't see him. Maybe I'm tripping. Here, let me put the chat on. Chat overlay on. Typo? Okay. All right, so we have this post here. The plot thickens. Democrat shills are insisting that Vance Boelter lived in a small house. Yeah, like I said, this is showed his house. So Vance Boelter's roommate says the Boelter is a Trump supporter. The roommate also said he hasn't talked about politics at all lately and didn't even know Boelter was involved in state politics. They really expect us to believe this after he was appointed by Tim Walz. Yeah, exactly. And so here's this.
We even asked about Mr. Boelter's political affiliations, and David Carlson, once again his roommate and best friend, known him since 4th grade, did say Boelter voted for Trump and that he was a strong supporter, but he hasn't really talked about politics lately. And from what his friend knew, he had no idea that Boelter was interested at all in local or state lawmakers as well. His friend didn't even know the names of the
Standing
lawmakers
outside this little house,
who were
like claiming that
attacked
this is the
today.
house he lived in.
He had no idea. The friend had no idea of Boelter even going to the state capitol. Once again, he never talked about state lawmakers.
Right. This roommate at TNT, this roommate's a liar, arrest him too. I'm wondering if he's just trying to attach himself to the story and if he even knows these people.
And that is some of the political affiliations that he told us about. Although he did have some ties in the Congo, apparently he flew out to D.C. to meet with an official from the Congo.
Okay, so you don't fly out to D.C. to meet with officials from the Congo, if you're not involved in politics. But this is the state of Minnesota. Tim Walz's governor notice of appointment Vance Boelter. And what's the date here? Effective December 14th, 2019, and expires January 2nd, 2023. So there's a little bit of documentation for that. But here's a statement from the post says, "Are you kidding me? Officers arrived at the scene before Vance Boelter entered the home, got into a shootout, let him go into the home and take the lives of Melissa Hortman and her husband, and then leave. Is this adding up to anyone?" So here's a 3-minute statement from the police. Let's check it out.
Boelter then traveled to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, in the home of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman. At approximately 3:30 a.m., Boelter arrived at Representative Hortman's house in his black SUV with the police license plates. He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing as if he was a police officer. Boelter approached Representative Hortman's home, again dressed as a police officer, wearing the tactical vest and body armor, and wearing that hyper-realistic mask. He was armed and carrying a flashlight. Before he entered the home, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers arrived at the scene. They too had been dispatched to check on Representative Hortman after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Boelter's black SUV parked in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing, and they saw Boelter standing in front of the house several feet from the door. When Boelter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman.
So, right there, he's standing out front, shooting into the house. What was with the police hesitation to stopping him right there? I don't get it. The only explanation I have is woke DEI policies. Maybe they should have sent in a social worker instead of cops or something. I don't know.
And her husband, Mark. The Brooklyn Park police officers fired at Boelter.
That was a joke, by the way.
Boelter as he...
Yeah, I guess that's true. The police thought he was one of them. But once you start unloading into the house, like, I don't know, right? Like, they went there to check on the guy, or to check on the individuals at that house because there was just a shooting at a previous house. They knew some of the scenario, saw the guy's car. I don't know. I think I would just have. I think it's on there. I think it's the cop's duty to stop him, even if they thought he was a cop shooting into the house. I don't know. Maybe they thought that he was taking fire back. Like I said, it's a crazy scenario, but they let it happen. That's for sure. They were there and they let it all happen. They definitely weren't serving and protecting the representative that night.
Rushed into the home, but he escaped into the home and out the back. Officers recovered Boelter's 9mm Beretta, along with the body armor and the mask.
Sorry to hear about that, TNT, man. That sucks.
Behind the home along his path of flight when he fled on foot. They later searched Boelter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Boelter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. Now, Boelter planned his attack carefully. He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of the family members.
How are they saying this is not premeditated? The dude, like, researched for months, it appears.
He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes. He also prepared in other ways. He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights and a police license plate, wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun. And of course, he wore that hyper-realistic silicone mask that's seen on the surveillance videos.
The hyper-realistic mask. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Here. This is a hyper-realistic mask they're referring to. It looks just exactly like a real person. Hey, seriously? Oh, that's his real face. So, yeah. Anyways, hyper-realistic, whatever. Benny Johnson posted the same thing, said, "This is insane. We now learn that Minnesota police just stood by and watched as Vance Boelter murdered Rep. Hortman in her home. What? How is this possible? Minnesota law enforcement officials just reported that 2 Minnesota police officers were already on the scene watching before killer Vance Boelter was ever stepped inside the home. Saw the killer in the driveway, wearing a Halloween mask and fake police uniform. Yeah. The police, I think it's a choice. They chose not to stop him. They stood, yeah, he said they stood by and let him do it. Nothing here makes sense. Dark and disturbing, 100%. Okay, so here is the roommate, right?
But yeah.
Thank you. I don't want to take more of your time, so thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks for entertaining.
I just want you guys to.
Actually, I think there's a longer version.
He was on because he was on call for work, and he'd always say, "Yeah, I need rest for work," so I'm sharp because he was extracting eyeballs. So gotta be sharp for
I
that.
remember him walking out of the house, like hearing him walking out of it.
No.
Was it unusual for him to go to bed at 7 p.m.? I mean, when you say
Well, it depends on the shift, no, because he is working all kinds of hours. Didn't seem odd. No.
Did he give you any emotional message? Said that he loves you besides the text messages or something like that? That seemed off.
Well, he said that he made some choices, and he said you guys don't know anything about it, but yeah.
Another
So
big
that's
ass.
what he said. He didn't have much time to live.
Another big ass. Do you mind if I take a picture of the text message?
Nah,
You
I
can
kinda-
block out his number. I just
yeah.
wanna-
Well, the thing is, I kind of keep that private because I read it to people, and I don't know. I just gotta get going. I have to.
Is his phone still ringing when you called?
So right there, she has to see his phone, and he's like, "Nah," and I gotta go. I don't know. Saying it is one thing, backing it up is another. And I just I can't help but wonder if this dude is just attaching himself to the story. He's just a weird dude that's trying to attach himself to the story. I don't know. Yeah, he wouldn't show the text message. He's a nut job. Exactly, Chris. Can't really believe him, but we're gonna continue and hear what the rest of what he had to say.
No, it's
Go straight to voicemail?
yeah, just voicemail. I can't.
She answered for him.
He doesn't want me involved.
Yeah.
So he's not going to call me. He's not going to receive calls from me.
Can we at least see the text?
Well, then everyone's taking pictures. I don't know why I'm so. He sent it to me and a friend. So it wasn't just me. And
So he doesn't want to talk to you, but he sent you a message. It doesn't add up.
I don't know if my friend would think about me sharing that with everybody. I mean, I read it out loud just so you guys could get a context of what I feel when I read it.
Yeah.
And
Can you read it to us? We were in here yesterday.
yeah, I know. But I got to really get going.
Do you have a message for him in case he's watching? He watches. Do you want to send him a message?
Yeah, tell him I love him and he's still my best friend. And I hope he doesn't kill anybody else. And I hope he surrenders himself for the sake of his family.
You must be disappointed.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to see him killed, and I'll still visit him in prison, I guess.
I'm sorry.
That's
Can you tell us
what else are you gonna do? But I just don't want him to give up on life or kill himself.
Are you
Yeah.
concerned he may have already done that?
Sure.
Right.
You said that he said in recent days he made choices that you don't know about. Tell us about those conversations, please.
Those weren't that's was a
That was
text.
the text.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything in your interactions with him in the days before this happened that made you wonder.
No, that made me call the police. The
The text did.
Yeah.
But any conversations you had in the last few days prior to this, nothing seemed.
Well, like we said, we had our separate lives. I worked and he worked, and he was here, and
They just
sometimes we'd
hooked
go
up.
down, we'd hang out, but we would never. Wasn't sometimes politics would be on the TV, but he was never really anything that was
Right, because he wasn't there to watch TV. He was there to wham bam, thank you, ma'am, sir.
in-depth
Allegedly.
conversation about just comments, and
And just for the record, your name is David Crossing.
yeah, with a C.
With a C.
'Cause
Please
I-
spell that.
This Minnesota, and you guys don't know Carlson? Carlson. Carlson. Norwegian, Swedish, yeah. But yeah.
Thank you. I don't want to take more of your time, so thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks for taking.
I just want you guys to just not say crazy right winger gone nuts and
Mm-hmm.
that was all he is. It just bothers me. That's his legacy. But I knew
Mm-hmm.
him all my life. He wasn't that guy, You're gonna kill me.
I'm sorry, David.
Mm-hmm. Totally sus. That's the stash house. They better check the hell out of it. Yeah, you're right about that, TNT. Yeah, I think they should definitely check that house high and low. Yeah, I just wanted some attention. I don't know if this dude is really even a part of it. He claims he is. Nick Sorter posted that Vance Boelter has been taken into custody. He comes after a massive search. He was spotted by a drone and put his hands up, supposedly. Yeah, it seemed like fake crying right as and then run off inside. Totally weird. Horrible actor, Chris said, yeah. Yeah, totally weird. Let's see here. After Tim Walz called for his side to get meaner and excuse me. So after Tim Walz called for his side to get meaner, and the fact the shooter Vance Boelter worked for Tim Walz, it seems like he should be referred also Tim Walz's No Kings assassin. and here's Tim Walz.
Called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh. The governor's being mean and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce.
Oh, really?
Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back.
Yeah, because do as I say and not as I do is the epitome of teaching a child a lesson. You just think you're a hypocrite, man. Tim Kershaw, bees walls. Only if you're a guy. CEO of the Red Lion Group. What's this here? Tim Walz holds a press conference following the capture of Vance Boelter after he killed 2 Minnesota lawmakers.
That we deal. A moment in this country where we watched violence erupt. This cannot be the norm.
Welcome back, Jay.
It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country.
I love watching the sign language people.
One of us can do it. Talk to a neighbor rather than arguing. Debate an issue. Shake hands. Find common ground. This is who Melissa Hortman was. In the first negotiating session that I had a chance to work with her, she got all the partners in the room, and she provided each and every one of us a copy of a book called Getting to Yes. And the whole premise was debating with a sense of goodwill, a sense of trying to come to compromises that serve everyone. And because of her, we did that.
This lady keeps throwing up gang signs.
Year after year after year. That's the embodiment of how things are supposed to work. It's not about hatred. It's not about mean tweets. It's not about demeaning someone. It's leading with grace and compassion and vision and compromise and decency. That was taken from us in Minnesota with the murder of Speaker Hortman. So for each and every one of us,
by your guy,
honor, and we will continue to honor that spirit, but we will need to do it in just more than actions in a memorial. Conducting ourselves in the spirit that Melissa Hortman did her work is what the country needs to heal.
Okay. Old Tim. Was that tampon Tim? So this one says from Mike Engelman, first there was a manifesto. Now Minnesota law enforcement claims they did not find a manifesto from Vance Boelter. What's the odds Tim Walz ordered the manifesto suppressed?
I think it's up.
That came from initially.
Can you identify the potential motive here?
Oops, what did I do?
Can you identify the potential motive here? It has been widely reported that the list, his hit list, contained names of people who are abortion rights supporters. And also, can you please release the names of the 2 other targeted victims who were fortunate to get away?
As I said, with respect to the other 2 potential victims, I think it's up to them whether they want to publicly identify themselves. As I said, it wouldn't surprise me if they do. They're elected officials, but that's their right. Obviously, they may have families and children and privacy interests that they need to sort through. So I'll let them do that. With respect to the potential motive, let me say this. There's been a lot of press coverage and speculation and discussion of a manifesto. I've seen nothing like a Unabomber-style manifesto in his writings. He had many, many notebooks full of plans, lists of names, surveillance, efforts that he took to surveil and locate the home addresses and family members' relationships with these elected officials.
Hold up. Is this the same guy that just told us that he planned for weeks and used the internet and all kinds of stuff to figure out these people's addresses and research his victims, potential victims and stuff? Is this the same guy? I'm going to have to go back and scroll down and see.
But I have not seen anything involving some sort of political screed or manifesto that would clearly identify what motivated him. Obviously, his primary motive was to go out and murder people. Now, they were all elected officials. They were all Democrats. Beyond that, I think it's just way too speculative for anyone who has reviewed these materials to know and to say what was motivating him in terms of ideology or specific issues. There's a lot of
For abortion rights supporters?
there were some
Wipe
abortion
that
rights
smile off your
supporters, I
face.
believe, on the list. But again, there was dozens and dozens and dozens of names on, hundreds of pages of documents that were recovered with his writings on them.
Did he confess and give more details after he was apprehended last night?
I'm not.
TNT, this dude expects a notebook titled "My Murderous Manifesto" before he admits to it. Right? He's like, it wasn't a, encyclopedia like what the Unabomber had. It's not a manifesto. It's like, bro, come on. You know exactly what we're talking about. This is ridiculous. Let me scroll down. I gotta see if this is the same guy. That's the same guy. This is the same guy that was at the podium telling us that he planned the shooting for weeks and this and that. Wonder if the guy forgot who he was. Oh wait, I forgot I said that earlier. So this is the some information about the wife, right? Boelter's wife Jenny has been detained after a traffic stop where authorities found a weapon, ammo, cash, and passports. Although it's valid to point out that the passports were for her and her children. Apparently, there was not one for Vance Boelter in the car, which I did not know until we just read that in that article earlier. So I'm glad I read through it. But here, let's watch this report and see.
Tom Hauser, and Tom has new information from multiple law enforcement sources.
Yeah, Jay, if you guys, you'll believe whatever I tell you with a smirk on his face. Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, the old wedding singer. I'm the man with the microphone, and you'll listen to everything I say. All right, we're going to play this.
Tom Hauser, and Tom has new information from multiple law enforcement sources about Boelter's wife being detained today, Tom.
Yeah, I've been working the phones for several hours, as you know, trying to track this down while we were all covering the manhunt here in the Twin Cities this morning. Sources tonight tell me the case was also taking a turn about 90 minutes to the north near Onamia in Mille Lacs County. Multiple law enforcement sources with direct knowledge of what happened tell 5 Eyewitness News there was a traffic stop.
Hold up. Y'all got to get some better city names up there. Onamia and Mille Lacs. What's going on here?
At a convenience store near Onamia. Between 10 and 11 a.m. this morning, law enforcement made a traffic stop involving a vehicle carrying
it even says in there, like, Namia. Like, it wants a new name. The name of the city is telling you that it wants a new name.
Several relatives of Vance Boelter, including his wife. We have talked to an eyewitness who says about a dozen law enforcement squads converged on the vehicle and remained on the scene for 2 to 3 hours. We are also told by several of our sources the vehicle contained a weapon, ammunition, cash, and passports. Now, to our knowledge, no one in that group has been arrested, just detained for questioning. It's also unclear.
She would have had to dispose of that weapon before she crossed the border if they were heading to a border. I wonder how they would have disposed of it. I wonder if it would be like, Hunter Biden reminiscent. You throw it in the dumpster behind the school or what? I don't know. Interesting thought there.
Why they were stopped, whether they were being tracked, or if it was a random traffic stop. I am told briefings about this incident are ongoing yet tonight, and we will continue to track more developments. And again, sources say Vance Boelter's wife is among those detained for questioning. And I did have one source very late in the evening, just before the newscast, say that she was being tracked. So this was not a random traffic stop. They had an idea of where she was, and they were able to track her down. Again, we're still gathering more details, and we'll have much more coming up tomorrow.
Tom Hauser reporting.
And no.
Chris says, remember that Rose from the Golden Girls was from St. Olaf in Minnesota. Yeah, like I said, get new names for your cities. What are you doing? Mike Engelman also posted, anyone surprised they took Vance Boelter in alive? Not really. When you hear the story that he was caught by a drone, put his hands up and basically surrendered. I think he's referring to his own predictions from days before, where he was assuming that this dude was not going to be taken alive for political reasons and hiding things. Which, it's interesting. Everybody's speculating: is he on the right? Is he on the left? Well, thankfully, this dude's still alive. They have him in custody. And through interviews and questioning and things like that, we maybe will get down to the bottom of this. We might find out, some of the truths, behind if he's a Trump supporter or not, or at least get some statements. I don't know if he'll be telling the truth. I do think there's some, the fact that they had "No Kings" written on those pieces of paper in his car. I'm wondering if they were thrown in there and planted by a cop, or if he just did it himself to just make the story more weird. I don't know. It definitely seems like there's a bigger plan maybe that he was trying to enact, or maybe in play. A lot of people think that he wasn't the only one acting in this. So maybe he had an accomplice. Maybe he wasn't even the man in the mask. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the courts determine. But this, let's see here. Okay, that was an article we read already. Somebody asked Grok. Cat Turd pointed out that there's no manifesto now. And then somebody asked Grok, can you give me a timeline of the Minnesota manifesto? First, there was one, now there isn't. And then Grok responded and said the Minnesota manifesto refers to a document linked to Vance Boelter involved in the June 14th shootings of Minnesota lawmakers. Here's a timeline on the available events. Shootings occur, found in Boelter's vehicle. A document in Boelter's vehicle initially reported as a manifesto listing officials to multiple states. Yeah, right. I mean, if you had a list of potential victims, that's a manifesto right there. It's, that's enough of a manifesto in my mind to call it, premeditated planning. But on June 14th, early reports media outlets described the document as a manifesto, suggesting ideological content or target lists. But then 2 days later, in the evening, Minnesota BCA clarifies the document as a notebook with names, not a traditional manifesto, addressing public confusion. The shift from manifesto to list because likely cause claims of no manifesto now. Reports remain inconsistent. They're muddying the waters at every turn on this story, and it's just curious and something we just got to keep an eye on, I guess. And obviously, whether or not if he was a Trump supporter or a Kamala, white dude for Harris, we condemn his actions, right? So I don't know. I guess it can be summed up as we'll just find out more, and maybe the plot will thicken as it unfolds. We'll keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you updated on Wednesday with any new developments. But for now, I think we pretty much have covered the entire top to bottom scenario. And so let me get caught up on chat here. There's a video of Detroit No Kings protest getting their asses kicked by a 1%er motorcycle club. I didn't see that. Wrong chat. Well, I'll take it. He's working with Timmy. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened this weekend. The shooting at a protest. This assassination. We had the No King stuff. We had the parade on Saturday. I feel like I'm missing a couple of things too, but anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the Israel-Iran conflict. And as it, escalations. Oh, I see. Let me close some of these down, actually. Oh, I forgot my dog was in here. All right, let me reorganize here real quick. All right, so yeah, we have some rather recent updates here. This is one of those threads that kind of updates as the time goes on. But I wanted to highlight the part that was at the top. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So Donald Trump is expected to offer Iran a last chance proposal. Now, this set comic Dave Smith off, apparently. I don't know if it was an overreaction or what, and I'll play that video of Dave Smith responding to this here in a minute. But let's read this little post here that President Trump is expected to present Iran with a last chance offer. American and European officials told the Jerusalem Post on Monday. Trump said that Tehran reached out to his administration in an attempt to stop the barrage of Israeli missiles strikes that have decimated Iran's nuclear facilities and military sites. It looks like Iran isn't winning this war. They need to talk before it's too late, Trump said in Canada, where he's attending the G7 summit. The official told the newspaper that Trump's new offer may be slightly better than the previous proposal the administration submitted to the Iranians earlier this month. Let's see here. Let's go to the Jerusalem Post and see if we can find out some more of the details here. So the U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to present Iran with a last chance offer. One official added that it might even be slightly better than the previous proposal. The expectation is that even if such proposal is made, that it will be based on American principle of zero uranium enrichment. As the Post reported on Sunday, Iran approached Oman and Qatar to mediate with the Trump administration in an effort to halt Israeli attacks and resume negotiations on its nuclear program. Saudi Arabia is also working behind the scenes through a separate channel to promote a ceasefire. Trump confirmed earlier on Monday that Iran had reached out to the U.S. in an attempt to stop Israeli strikes. Quote, "It looks like Iran isn't winning this war. They need to talk before it's too late," Trump said in Canada. So Netanyahu responded in an interview with ABC regarding Iran's outreach for a ceasefire. Quote, "It doesn't surprise me. They want to continue these phony talks to lie, deceive, and drag the U.S. along. We have very solid intelligence on this." An Israeli official told the Post that as of now, Israel has not received any final or any official approach. The negotiations are currently between Tehran and Washington. In the meantime, we continue striking more and more targets, said an Israeli official. And I think at this point, Israel has pretty much decimated Iran's chance of winning this war. Although Iran has seemingly gotten better at their strikes over the last couple days, just paying attention progressively. They seem to be sending their missiles in groups now rather than just haphazardly, and more seem to be hitting their target because it confuses the Iron Dome, which we'll talk about here a little bit more in a minute. Let's see here. So the U.S. administration confirmed on Monday that the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier will arrive in the Middle East, and about 30 refueling aircraft are also being sent to the region. A U.S. source told the Post that preparations are being made to allow possible participation in strikes if Trump gives the green light. Part of that could be just being prepared from the United States part, and it could be just positioning to put Iran in a checkmate type of position, right? Where we have everything in place and they really have no option other than to de-escalate. But I don't know. It could be that he really wants to push forward for war, but that's not been Trump's MO in the past. But people change, so I don't know. TNT says Dave Smith pisses me off. Trump kept his promise to the Libertarian Party 100%. Yeah, I thought that the The take from Dave Smith was a little off-putting. I thought I was jumping the gun a little bit, especially just over this. I was hoping that he would elaborate on maybe like more detail, but it just appears that this was the final straw for him to turn on Trump. I don't know. Dave Smith might find himself on the wrong side of this one once it develops. I don't know. Jay says it won't last. They don't have that many missiles. Yeah, that's one thing that I was wondering about is the production of Iranian missiles. Although Iran is a legit country. I mean, they're huge. They're all but, you know, a G1 or whatever, basically lacking the nuclear development being the limitation, I think, on it. So I don't know. We don't really know how many missiles they have. Apparently, they're also moving launch sites like into Iraq and some of these other areas around. So we'll see. But I mean, Israel's taken out all of their jets. Although we haven't seen any jets even be used by Iran at this point. They've just been lobbing missiles. So I don't know. But TNT follows that and says, yeah, they can't keep launching 2,500 missiles at a time to overwhelm the Iron Dome. Yeah, it's definitely they'll run out at that rate for sure. But they have been more effective over the last few days as it progressed daily. You know what I mean? Just pointing that out. Yeah, you're right about that too, TNT. Yeah, they don't have jets anymore. I think they had like the F-24s is what they were calling them, but they got taken out. A few of them just got taken out last night. So the U.S. administration confirmed on Monday that the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier will arrive in the Middle East. Oh yeah, I mentioned that. And ironically, the USS Nimitz is being decommissioned next year. So there's people out there speculating that maybe it's being sent over here to be sunk in a false flag attempt to try to draw America into this war or to get American support for us to go to war. So we got to keep an eye out for that. Let's see here. So, quote, this is the gun placed on the stage in the first act. Trump is clearly signaling he's not ruling out the military option. Within the U.S. administration, there's a disagreement over whether the U.S. should join the Israeli offensive. Quote, the U.S. Central Command believes it's the right thing to do, but there are others, including within Trump's base, who oppose involvement. A U.S. source told the Post, in the end, it will be decided by the head of one redhead, referring to Trump. So Dan Shapiro, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East Affairs, told the Post that President Trump is putting in place the military assets necessary to give him the option of strikes on Iran, including Fordow. Shapiro estimated that there are other assets not available that will also be deployed in the region. It does not mean he has made the decision to strike, but Trump can use the threat as leverage to get Iran to agree to return to the table and make the concession they would not before, ending enrichment at the ability to build a nuclear weapon. Shapiro, who is also a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, added that for this to be a viable threat, Trump has to be willing to follow through if Iran won't concede or if Israel does not have a different solution for Fordow. Yeah, TNT, Trump isn't sacrificing a $200 million aircraft carrier for anyone, not going to happen. I don't think so either. Although it's just, people are saying that because it's scheduled to be decommissioned, they have 50-year commissions next year, that, it's ripe for disposal. So, what if? I don't know. I'm right there with you, though. I tend to think that Trump is not going to have that, doesn't want that on his presidential history, that blemish, right? So let's read some of the developments over the last couple hours. So these things weren't on there when I was plotting earlier. So House Speaker Mike Johnson on Monday said that he will postpone a trip to Israel because of ongoing hostilities between the Jewish state and Iran. Johnson was expected to address the I don't know, Israel's parliament on Saturday. Due to the complex situation currently unfolding in Iran and Israel, Speaker Ohana and I have made the decision to postpone the the special session of the Knesset. Johnson said in a news release, quote, "We look forward to rescheduling the address in the near future and send our prayers to the people of Israel and the Middle East." Yo, what up, House? An aircraft carrier costs $13 billion. Yeah, probably nowadays it probably does now, huh? I'd like to actually go and have my lay eyes on one and be on one. I heard they're massive. I could go to like a port around off the coast here and probably get a good look at one. We could build 20 carriers with the money we sent to Ukraine. Yeah, those would come in handy right now, wouldn't they, Jay? And what up, House? Good to see you there, bud. Yeah, Iran has an underground air base. And I believe, yeah, Chris, I believe that's why Israel is so desperate for the United States to get involved, because our B-2s, I think is what it is, are the only ones that can drop the bunker busters. They can actually penetrate deep enough into like the mountains where they have these underground bases. And so Israel's like really wanting us to employ those. So we got right here that just some updates. All centrifuges at Iran's main enrichment plant likely severely damaged, the IAEA chief says. So roughly all of the 15,000 centrifuges at Iran's biggest uranium enrichment plant at Natanz were badly damaged or destroyed because of a power cut caused by an Israeli strike. A United Nations nuclear watchdog said. Our assessment is that with the sudden loss of external power and great probability, the centrifuges have been severely damaged, if not destroyed altogether. Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, said in an interview with the BBC, "I think there has been damage inside," he added. Earlier on Monday, Grossi told the IAEA board that there was a possibility of both radiological and chemical contamination within the Natanz facility, the Times of Israel reported. So what, they got like a Chernobyl scenario going on over there? I'm curious. Yeah, TNT, we're fluid in autocorrect interpretation for sure. I feel like I handled that message from Jay flawlessly. So yeah, like, what, we're gonna have like a Chernobyl type area with like nuclear radiation in the area? I don't know. I got kind of curious. So then 2 hours ago, Israeli stands, I think it's Israel stands at Paris Arms exhibition shut down by French government. Okay, so black partition walls were erected around Israeli companies displaying offensive weapons systems at a Paris International Arms exhibition by order of French authorities. This discriminatory act singled out Israel while representatives of other countries were freely allowed to showcase their technological innovation, said Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations of the Paris Air Show. Israel stands at the forefront of global technology, and it is clear that some nations feel threatened by our exceptional capabilities. This is especially absurd considering that Israel's actions are aimed at protecting the free world, including France and Europe, from Iranian terror, he wrote on X. That is one thing that a lot of these surrounding countries, I believe, are kind of quietly, secretively thanking Israel for weakening Iran in their nuclear capabilities, right? They could basically sit back and reap the benefits without having to pay any of the cost, and then they get to stay safe from that threat. But the companies present at the event, Israel Aerospace Industries, Rafael University, to make drones, How much read that? Make drones and guided bombs and missiles. Okay, so French Prime Minister Francois Bayrou defended the decision during a Monday press conference. Okay. What else we got here? Hegseth orders deployment of additional capabilities for CENTCOM. So Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth over the weekend directed the deployment of additional capabilities of military personnel. The additional resources were ordered for the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, Hegseth said. Protecting U.S. forces is our top priority, and these deployments are intended to enhance our defensive posture in the region, he said. CENTCOM oversees military operations in the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, and parts of Asia. Parts of South Asia, excuse me. An hour ago, Israel says it detected missiles launched from Iran. Keeping in mind it is nighttime over there. They've been, I believe they've been lobbing missiles back and forth again today. But I wasn't able to keep tabs on it like I have been the days before. Because like I said earlier, I've been outside working, enjoying the good feeling weather. But Israel said it detected missiles launched from Iran headed toward its borders. A short time ago, alerts were activated in several areas of the country following the discovery of missiles launched from Iran into the territory of the state of Israel. The IDF says the defense systems are working to intercept the threat. You must enter the protected areas upon receiving the alert to remain there until further notice. Okay, so like just an hour ago, they're detecting launches. So Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Iran should have signed the deal. So this is 2.5 minutes. Let's hear what Trump has to say.
But I did that with many countries, and they were absolutely broke. If you remember back, you go back 3.5 years ago, you will see that there were reports, actually, even from the fake news, that Hamas, Hezbollah, they didn't have any money because Iran had no money to give them. They wanted to survive. And I didn't want to be bad to I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, you know, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon. Now they're 31 days away from having a nuclear weapon. And I'm not looking to be enemies with.
And that reminds me, he mentioned they're 31 days from having a nuclear weapon. That was on January 20th. Now we're into June, and I believe 3 days ago they said Iran was 3 days from having a nuclear weapon or being able to develop one, having the technology or whatever to be able to, maybe the enriched uranium to be able to develop one. We've heard this story many times since the 90s, and every time shortly thereafter, Iran is taken down a few pegs as far as their nuclear development goes. So I don't know. It might be a good thing that they constantly weaken them, or it might just be an excuse that they continually use to just attack Iran. All I know is this isn't new. I hear people coming out here saying that, you know, Israel started it this time, and it's like, really, this time? Like they launched this offensive, this little skirmish that they're in right now, but did they really start it? I mean, just a few months ago, Iran did that test run where they sent those super slow like drone missile things into Israel, and it didn't make any sense. It took them like 7 hours to get there. They were all super slow. I think every single one got taken out by the Iron Dome with no problem. You know, I want to say maybe one actually made it through or crashed down or something. I can't remember exactly. I think that might have been a testing type scenario, trying to get some information of where the Iron Dome, like anti-aircraft, you know, artillery sites are located. Although I do believe that Israel moves them around. I'm sure they have some fixed ones. But I mean, just then you want to go back to like October 7th before that, when you find out that, you know, Hamas and Hezbollah, especially Hezbollah funded by Iran, you know, it's just this constant battle between the Jewish religion and the Muslim religion over there. And you know, when the Christian religion was big in the region, they were involved in it too, right? Just constant battles back and forth. TNT used to do some shit in the sink with a floating sponge and a 2-liter bottle. The gravity bong. They call them Jeebs. The kids call them Jeebs nowadays. Just so you guys know. But let's continue here with Trump.
Iran, I'd love to get along with them, great, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. Just can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I'll say this, if they do have a nuclear weapon, Israel is gone. It'll be gone. I listened to Biden yesterday. You know, since I went under the wing, I used to go under the wing of the aircraft. Nobody ever did that before. I did. All of a sudden, Biden started, but he only takes like a half a question. Usually can't answer. But they asked him, "What do you think about Iran? Would you?"
Yeah, they call me a boomer when I call it a gravity bong.
Hit Iran, and he goes, "As long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff."
I helped the dude with some carpentry stuff. He didn't know he was getting into it, but he had his own business. He's a young guy, working hard. He just didn't have the knowledge base, and he needed me to come help him with the project. And he pulls a big trailer behind his truck, and he keeps a gravity bong in the trailer. He kept calling it Jeebs. It was cracking me up.
That's the thing you want.
Down here, you got a license for that stuff. So.
Isn't that the one you're supposed to hit?
Not even illegal.
I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military, jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff. And I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked that question, the answer should have been hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And that's what they should. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. But we'll find out whatever their plans are. But great question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So what we're learning here is Trump has been consistent in this position that Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. It kind of reminds me of how Trump was consistent with the EV position with Elon. It's like he was telling you the whole time he was pro gas. He thought EVs were cool, but not the future. They're a cool option. Much like what we're seeing here. He's maintained this position that Iran cannot be allowed to build a nuclear weapon. So then why are we surprised when we're told that they're 3 days away from being able to develop it, according to intel, that Trump is going to act accordingly, which he is not even really doing anything. It's just he is aware of what Israel is doing, and the United States is aiding the defense of Israel, which is what we're supposed to do as the ally in our agreement with them, right? So, I mean, granted, of course, I'd love to see some, scratch my back, I'll scratch your back coming towards the, United States way from Israel. Maybe they could help, fund the border wall for us, or, ramp up our deportation process or something like that. But, definitely something needs to come back our direction.
And I would have been very good to Iran. They had to have one thing: no nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the greatest danger to our country going forward, to the world going forward. Well, they're very close to an agreement on Gaza, and we'll let you know about it during the day or maybe tomorrow, and we have a chance of that. And I think we have a chance of making a deal with Iran also. They don't want to be blown up. They would rather make a deal. And I think that could happen in the not too distant future. That would be a great thing if we could have a deal without bombs being dropped all over the Middle East. That would be a very good thing. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We want them to be safe. We want them to have a very, very successful nation. Let it be a great nation, but we can't have that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. And I think we're fairly close to a deal with Iran.
It is fairly simple. It's clear cut and dry, in my opinion. They just simply cannot have nuclear weapon. Yeah, and Andrea, you're right. He tells you, and they expect that he will change his mind and then get mad when he sticks to what he has always said. Exactly. It's like, were you not listening before? I don't get it. It's so weird. TNT says, sometimes I question if smoking pot is anti-Christian or anti-conservative, I always come back to it's natural and God provided it to us, not to abuse, but to use as we wish. Yeah, I'm there with you on that one. I'm there with you on that one. You know, they drank wine back in the day, so there's some tolerance for getting a little faded. Jay mentioned that Trump really set Iran back in his first term. He's no friend of Iran. I believe that's true. I 100% agree. Yeah, TNT, exactly, Andrea. He likes to bluff and play the game to win. Judge Trump by his actions. That is like right on, TNT. I mean, all these gut reactions from the left every time Trump proposes something, when we all know it's his big ask, right? We're aware, but the gut reaction, the meltdown happens every time. And then you even see, like, on the right, even when it comes to some of this stuff, the same type of gut reaction. It's like, just chill. Let's just chill for a second. Let's trust the process. And then let's also remember what Trump said this whole time when we supported him back then. Oh, Lola Marble, women invented beer. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. We'll make sure we let Atlas know that one. Personally, for me, I'm on a no beer, no alcohol stint. I'm on keto now. I've been on keto for about 3 weeks, and I'm currently actually in the middle of I haven't eaten since I didn't eat yesterday. I haven't eaten today. And the day before, I only ate a handful of pecans and 1 piece of bacon. So yeah, I'm pretty much on a 2-day fast right now, but it's almost 3 days. But definitely drinking alcohol, especially beer with all the carbs in there, I feel like it's just going to go straight to fat. I'm there with you, TNT. I'm gonna ride with Trump off the cliff if that's what it takes. I think I'm right there with you, dude. Like, I might stop just short of the cliff edge. No alcohol here, also no tobacco. That's good. But yeah, man, I'm giving Trump every opportunity that I can, because ultimately, you know, his track record, it's not perfect, but it's the best one from a president, you know, presidential resume of my lifetime that I can remember, well, it's just true. That's all I can remember. And yeah, you gotta give him a chance. You know what I mean? I'm so thankful that he was elected and we get this second round with him. You know, after losing in 2020, the future looked bleak, but we got our redemption round right here with Trump in these 4 years, maybe just these 2 years, while we have the House and the Senate. But you know, we're seeing good things. And let's see here. Just to wrap this up here real quick before I move on to the next topic. Bernie Sanders pushes bill to prevent Trump from striking Iran without approval from Congress. What do you know? Dan McKnight might actually join in with this. I won't speak for him, but I know he prefer Congress approve war. That's for sure. I got to get Dan back on. I'm going to reach out to him again. Starting your no smoking tomorrow, Jay. You know, my wife quit smoking about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and she was watching these videos that help you get in the right mindset. I'll ask her about them and I'll post them in the Discord if you might be interested in checking them out. They just help you get in the right mindset to quit smoking, as well as just now, you know, on top of recognizing that you want to quit. The laser works. Yeah, Jay, I'll ask her. She's probably watching. No, I can hear her on the phone. But I'll remind her, and I'll send that over to you. So Bernie senators on Monday introduced a bill that would prohibit the use of federal funds or any use of military force in or against Iran without specific congressional authorization. Why wouldn't you do this overall? Why does it have to be specifically Iran? Isn't that how war is supposed to be conducted in the United States? That Congress is supposed to approve it? It's weird that you have to introduce a bill that reiterates a law essentially that's already on the books. You know what I mean? Like, we should definitely work on enacting the laws that we have on the books before we start adding to it. I hate making government bigger, right? But the No War Against Iran Act also has multiple Democratic co-sponsors in an effort to prevent President Trump from getting the United States involved in the military conflict. What's it so funny? They act like Trump is the war hawk, warmongering neocon when he's the one that's, the president of no new wars. So they just, the way they act and project is ridiculous. And this is a gut reaction to Trump's words, right? This is a waste of time. They need to go off of Trump's actions. But the bill contains an exception for self-defense as enshrined in the War Powers Act. Quote, Netanyahu's reckless and illegal attacks violate international law and risk instigating a regional war. Congress must make it clear that the United States will not be dragged into Netanyahu's war of choice. Sanders said of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, our founding fathers entrusted the power of war and peace exclusively to the people's elected representatives in Congress, and it's imperative that we make clear that the president has no authority to embark on another costly war without explicit authorization by Congress. Sanders has criticized the Israeli leader over Israel's war against Hamas and for the death toll in Gaza. The Constitution is clear. Congress decides when our country goes to war, not the president or the Netanyahu government, said Elizabeth Warren. The Trump administration must prioritize de-escalation to prevent this spiraling into a war that jeopardizes U.S. troops and destabilizes the Middle East. I mean, you can just make a hard line stance that you're not going to send an American soldier to the region. You're not going to put an American boot on the ground. You don't need all this crazy, theatrics from the left. But Sanders first introduced the bill in 2020. The U.S. is not striking Iran and remains in a defensive posture, a U.S. official has told Fox News. Look how crazy he looks. Dude, it's crazy looking. Yeah, Bernie's a putz. Massey has a partner bill in Congress. Yeah, Trump is already pushing a diplomatic approach. Yeah, that's the thing. It's so funny. Trump is pushing a diplomatic approach and giving them one last chance, and Bernie Sanders is out here introducing bills to force Congress to declare war like it's supposed to be in the first place. These fucking idiots. So Trump to depart the G7 because of Israel-Iran conflict, the White House says. I thought the G7, they said, was in Canada. Like, okay, whatever. But here, it's a minute 45.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have you spoken to Prime Minister Netanyahu? When might you speak to him?
I've spoken to everybody.
What will you say?
Israel is doing very well, as you probably noticed. And I gave Iran 60 days, and they said no.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing from Trump's approach. He talked to Israel into giving Iran 60 days to negotiate or come to some type of, peaceful conclusion.
Oh, and the 61st, you saw what happened. Day 61. So I'm in constant touch. And as I've been saying, I think a deal will be signed or something will happen, but a deal will be signed. And I think Iran is foolish not to sign one.
Iran is accusing Netanyahu.
No, look, Iran should have signed the deal.
If it would help bring Iran to the negotiating table, would you?
Yeah, Massey is frustrating sometimes.
Well, I think Iran basically is at the negotiating table.
Is that Starmer? I was wondering who that guy was.
As I leave here, we're going to be doing something but I have to leave here. I have, this
He's much
commitment.
taller
I have
than
a lot of
Mike Johnson.
commitments. I have a commitment to a lot of countries, including the UK, where we just signed our deal. I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
And we've had a discussion about that this morning. There's a in the G7 absolute clarity in relation to the nuclear program. We do not want to see it.
Mr. President.
So Iran would be smart. They would put Israel in a really messed up position, relationship with the United States if Iran just comes out and signs the deal and says, yeah, we're not going to make a bomb. You got our signature right there. Boom. That would lock Trump into his commitment of not escalating. And it would screw Israel because they would want to push forward. But if they did, it would be against the will of an appeased U.S. government, right? So if Iran was smart, they would just agree, especially at this point where they've been decimated. They don't got a runway to launch a jet if they had any jets left over. Yeah, Chris, I'd love to see all nuclear weapons banned. That'd be great. But, nuclear weapons are 80-year-old, 100-year-old technology at this point. 80-year-old technology at this point. Like, probably got other things to worry about over nuclear weapons, to be honest. But the fact remains, if Iran has nuclear capabilities to make a bomb, I think it would be just a matter of time before they went ahead and nuked Israel. So that is the main factor of why they can't have one, from our perspective. TNT, Iran has never kept their word. We need to let Israel do their thing and stay out of it. So yeah, that's what I'd prefer. Just stay out of it. Stay out of it. I guess we have to honor their defense, although I don't like being their shield while they're taking an offensive position. They're basically the sword, we're the shield. Although it's not just the United States. There is NATO nations involved as well in the missile defense of Israel and stuff. So yeah, Israel is crushing them. Honestly, they're very tactical. Like I said in the last show, that no doubt in my mind was Israel not tracking, like 100% believe that Israel has been tracking top Iran leadership, military, presidential, whatever it is that their ranks are for a long time, which is why they were able to remove the scientists, a lot of the leadership of their war leaders all over a weekend, basically, from the face of this planet Earth, and strike fear into the next scientist who might want to head up Iran's nuclear facilities. But yeah, they've whipped them pretty hard. Chris, you just sent me that after U.S. threats, Iran unveils underground missile base. Yeah, I heard that they have like a deep underground missile base, and that was why Israel was wanting the United States to use their B-2s with their bunker busters so badly. Although House mentioned that they're deeper, this military underground base in Iran is deeper than what our bunker busters can reach. Maybe we'd have to send a few in a row. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, Iran might run out of missiles. Who knows how long they've been producing them? I would assume constantly, as fast as possible, for as far back as they could. But at the same time, it's an airfield as well. They can got a runway in there. But it's just a matter of like a very easy turn in this war could happen if Russia or China decides that they're going to go ahead and supply Iran, which is, one of their allies under the BRICS alliances. So I saw on Crowder earlier this morning, Gerald tried to discredit that argument, but he listed the other countries in the BRICS alliances other than Russia and China. He was like, what is Brazil going to do? What is South Africa going to do to support them? And he listed like all them. And then it's like, bro, are you forgetting about China and Russia? The other two superpowers on this planet? Yeah, they could decide to start funding and supplying Iran, and then they don't run out of missiles. So, like, yeah, the potential for potential for that, maybe from Russia's perspective, considering they got the front in Ukraine, might be low. Who knows? Who knows if China might want to take advantage and just say, well, we're going to go ahead and take Taiwan. The United States can't fight a battle on 3 fronts. But I thought that was funny how Gerald mentioned the BRICS alliances, but then he left out China and Russia in his example. Although I a lot of respect for Gerald, but that one was a miss to me. They blew their wad when they used the hypersonic. They don't have much left. They bluffed. Yeah, maybe. They might have just been doing as much damage as they could before they couldn't do anymore. China's already sending materials. Well, sending missiles and things like that, I guess, arming them. But I wanted to go over here to this because this is a cool story from the Gateway Pundit. So mass deportations are working. American workers rush to fill jobs once taken by illegal aliens in Nebraska. We just saw last week that Trump recanted a little bit. He pulled back on his mass deportations after talking to some farmers, which in my mind, I believe he was talking to like corporate farms, not really like the real farmers, right? But they told him that, our workers have been here for 20 years. They're good people. They're good workers. We need them. And so he pulled back. But in light of this, might change his stance back to mass deportations. Need to push forward like super hard. The mainstream media. Mass deportations work. American workers rush to fill jobs once taken by illegal aliens in Nebraska. So the mainstream media and Democratic politicians have long insisted that mass deportations would cripple the American economy. But the reality unfolding in Nebraska tells a starkly different story, one that demolishes the left's open border talking points and affirms what millions of Americans already know: mass deportation works. So on Tuesday, federal immigration authorities executed a massive raid at Glen Valley Foods, arresting 76 illegal workers who had no business being in our country, let alone our workforce. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed the operation targeted a large-scale scheme of employing aliens without legal work authorization. Yeah, excuse me, I got to get a drink. Pardon me. So by Friday, over a dozen of those detained were already deported or transferred, with 63 others held at Lincoln County Detention Center. Sheriff Jerome Kramer noted, none are violent offenders. Let's be clear. They broke our laws and they're paying the price. After a major ICE raid at Glen Valley Foods in Omaha, job-seeking U.S. citizens wasted no time filling the void. Remember all those stories about, the Americans don't want to work? It was bullshit. They were lying to us. They were lying to our faces, and we knew it the whole time. But they still lied. They still had to push their narrative. According to ABC News, every seat in the plant's waiting area was filled with respective new hires just 48 hours after federal agents cleared out the illegals. Let that sink in. Despite claims that Americans won't do these jobs, Nebraskans lined up around the block for a chance to work. So every seat in the waiting area of Glen Valley Foods was occupied with people filling out job applications Thursday afternoon, 2 days after the meatpacking plant became the center of the largest worksite immigration raid in the state of Nebraska so far this year. Heavily emphasized on the so far part, right? Dozens of prospective employees, many of them Spanish speakers, had been coming in and out of the plant all day. Some were hoping to land a new job. Others were coming in for training. The scene gave the company's president, Chad Hortman, a glimmer of hope amid the chaos that ensued after Tuesday's raid purged roughly half of his staff. I guess we'll just ignore the fact that half of his staff was illegal aliens at this point. Continuing, many of whom had been longtime employees of the company, which had been processing boxed beef for more than 15 years. Hortman had never seen or experienced a raid before. He is finding out in real time that there's no playbook on how to move forward after one, Hortman told NBC News. So that's really awesome. I love hearing this. Americans are willing to go and work for these jobs, and it looks like they're not even going to demand some crazy wage, right? Like the argument was they're drawing down, they're bringing the wages down, and the Americans won't work for those wages. Maybe this company is realizing they got to offer a real wage to get American workers. I don't know. Those details are yet to be seen, or personal information, I guess, what a person is making. But you gotta love seeing the American worker's resolve, right? We want to have these jobs. We want to take care of our families. We just don't want to do it at the wage level to where we're competing with illegal immigrants. That doesn't pay our bills. And that's bullshit to ask us to do in the first place. So I really like this story. Let's see here. Let me get caught up back on chat. People work for jobs if they can get them. They do work Americans don't want to do is a lie. Yeah, 100%, Chris. Who's gonna pick your vegetables and work on the farms? Americans will. Americans will. And it might cost us a little bit more at the grocery store to replace the strawberry pickers with Americans, but if you want strawberries, that's just the price it's going to cost. And a lot of people voted for that, and we're willing to deal with it. We want the workers to be compensated. We want the American workers to be compensated properly. And when things balance out, we all end up somehow having more money in our pockets. So, good job for the mass deportations. A sign of what's to come, especially when you combine that with the fact that Trump is trying to ramp up the deportations. He wants the number to be around 3,000 a day, I believe, the last time I saw the report. And those are numbers we can work with. Yeah, exactly, Jay. No more tens of millions for CEO bonuses. Bummer. You know what I mean? They might have to buy or wait a year or two to buy that yacht. You know? Chris asked, "Did you see where the new weapon system depends on Swedish radar planes for their targeting?" No, I don't know anything about that. Yeah, TNT says, "I'd happily work a crap job if it's steady work." That's a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I'm making $30 an hour, but he only works me 18 hours a week, some weeks, and 32 hours other weeks. So I can't get with that inconsistency. What's up, Jamie? Welcome back. TNT says, "I'm okay with CEO getting tens of millions in bonuses, but he does something revolutionary for the business." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if he does something revolutionary and it saves tens of millions, something, you know what I mean? That's earning your keep. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chris. Find a place to pick your own, or better yet, grow your own food. Yeah, I got one of those hydroponic like systems. I've talked about it before, and we grow lettuce, and I got some bell peppers and jalapeno going right now. And I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Get some chickens. Lola Marble with a free Luigi out of nowhere. Somebody steal your phone? But yeah, Jay, I gotta remember to ask for those videos that my wife used to quit smoking. Yeah, Jamie, that does suck that you're in an apartment. You can still do a little bit, but we don't got the yard. So what else do I got? Oh yeah, duh. So Dave Smith's reaction. I don't want to gloss over this. This is wild. So Sean McGuire posted, here is Dave Smith apologizing for voting for Trump and calling for his impeachment. The woke right is the fusion of an intel op with useful idiots. So I don't know who Sean McGuire is. And the woke right is a funny phrase to me, but nevertheless, here's the post from Dave Smith, or the quote.
It was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian, the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come.
We've pushed them to a point? Or have Iran got themselves to the point where we can't allow them to continue? And I say we, but it's not even really the United States.
Back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Right. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was.
So just in case you missed it, I'm going to bounce it back because I had to watch this like 4 times to figure out what his actual beef was with Donald Trump. So I'm going to bounce it back.
To a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke. Yeah. I mean, what a impotent leader to be. So
Donald Trump asking Iran to come back to the table is a joke, and it makes him an impotent leader, according to Dave Smith. Not sure how that makes him impotent, but yeah, Breaking Points is a joke show, that's for sure, Chris. That is 100% sure.
He's sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor.
I don't understand. Like saying that, comparing, what is Iran supposed to do? Just lose? Like, they've gotten their asses kicked, and I'm sure they realize that. Wouldn't you want to negotiate and try to, like, you know, as they've indicated, they maybe want to stop getting their ass kicked before they're all dead? I don't know. That's a motivator for some people.
And telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump, look.
No, the time for negotiation is never over. It's never over. Otherwise, it's just conquering. You obliterate your enemy until they've been conquered. No, so The 21st century, the time for negotiation is never over.
And man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one.
I didn't watch it, TNT. Have you been watching it lately? I know you mentioned it a while back that you're going to check it out. What do you think of her take? But I haven't watched it for a little while. But yeah, Anna Kasparian. All right.
But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some like
So not only is he saying there's a bad move, he's saying that Trump should be impeached and removed. That's crazy.
Not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed.
Yeah, I'll watch it, TNT, for sure.
For this, all of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I know I don't just speak for myself.
I don't think he's losing his coalition. I think he might lose the libertarians that were never part of his coalition in the first place. I mean, these guys got on board, last August? September? When was the debate between Trump and Biden? I mean, a lot of these libertarian people, in the middle or whatever you want to call them, they weren't on the Trump train. They just barely stepped on it because they chose the better of two options. But when somebody comes out and says, I regret voting for Trump, that means that they would rather have Kamala Harris in this position. And I think that is just the stupidest take that you can have. Nobody thinks Kamala Harris would be handling this situation better than Donald Trump. And I say this situation, but apply that across the board, right? We'd still have open borders. Yeah, she'd have no backbone against Israel. Israel would be doing whatever they wanted. There would have been no 60 days, holding off this war. So coming out here and just saying that Donald Trump is feckless, needs to be impeached, and you regret voting for him, it's just completely it's off base. It's too emotional, right? It's a little feminist, if I might.
When I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this. Because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations.
I disagree with this take too. He's saying that Trump is going to lose the deportation fight because of this, acting like these people are turning their back on Trump over this decision in the Middle East, and now they're for deportations. So what, you just change across the board on everything? You didn't have any principles. You can't agree on this and disagree on that. It's stupid. It's such a dumb take to think that I'm out on Trump completely, to the point where bring back mass, bring back open borders. You know what I mean? I just completely disagree. I think the people that I completely disagree with Dave Smith here. I think the people that are against Trump or that Trump might have lost over the Middle East still believe in strong borders and that mass deportations need to happen. This is just one of the hottest takes I've heard Dave Smith have ever, besides where he was saying, fuck Trump in that libertarian meeting that Trump graced them with when he was still campaigning, the rally.
But the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
The neocons win this time, but you can thank Israel for acting on their own accord without getting Trump's permission. Telling Trump you're doing it is not getting Trump's permission, right? But I agree with TNT. If Trump sends in troops, we got to talk. Till then, I want a rhino in a China shop. Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, exactly. And Trump is our rhino in the China shop of DC. 100%. And the other part of Dave Smith's argument there, too, was that, you know, the vocal minority is who you got to battle. The vocal minority is going to be there regardless of if Trump has the libertarian support or not, right? You're not making the vocal minority go away. And right is right, and wrong is always going to be wrong. And secure borders and mass deportations is right. So what TNT says here, or House says, Trump has 3.5 years left. He can do what he wants. He said the GOP will go whatever way the wind blows. That said, the GOP will go whatever way the wind blows. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got some resistance in the House and Senate too from the GOP. So, you know, I have said that I wish the left would lend their clout to Trump as their president and give him, you know, the bargaining power abroad to negotiate as far as like the tariffs go and stuff like that. I know these people were never going to support him as far as deportations and border security, but yeah, Chris, we need to start a new party. Although I don't know what that would look like. I wish there was a Christian party. I wish there was this was a, you know, it's funny, like Israel is the Jewish nation. Iran and a lot of those countries around there are the Muslim nations, right? Their leadership is literally religious. But the United States, I believe, was supposed to be the conservative or the Christian nation, not the conservative nation, the Christian nation, conservative through proxy, essentially. And they've taken that from us. The left is trying to conquer that faction, that bit of it from us. So, you know, I wish we'd see like a return of Christian leadership, but and that be the core of a party. Unfortunately, evil is strong on this planet, and God allows the evil one to work, and for us to exercise our free will to go against or with the evil one's plans, right? And so, yeah, House Constitution Party is everything the Republicans are supposed to be. That's what I would like to see, a Christian constitutional party. Unfortunately, the left is a conglomeration of a bunch of fringe, and they all are able to join arms politically when it comes to these types of scenarios. So the right needs to do better in campaigning. And we also need to do better in protecting, you know, election laws. We need to get out and vote in our local. We need to do better as a party in voting in our local elections. Stop. Sorry for yelling. She keeps pawing me in the face. Stop. Get down. That one hurt. No. Get down. Ugh. All right, I'm battling her. I lost my train of thought, and she's back up on my lap again. Parker, you're bothering me. I love you. I love you. I know you're one of them. Okay, well, now I completely lost my train of thought. I have no clue what I was saying. And we're beyond the 9 o'clock hour, so I think I pretty much said my piece on this Dave Smith talk. I think he'll, not that he's going to regret this. We all got to have our hot takes to generate controversy and drama and clicks and stuff like that. And this one will be something that we'll be talking about for a while, I believe. And I think there's a lot of people that are echoing his sentiment here too. I know Atlas is basically not turned on Trump, but lost faith in Trump. And, you know, to those guys, I just say, wait and see. And I know you guys are smart enough to realize that Trump is smarter or better than Kamala. And so, anyways, Yeah, third party won't work unless you want 100 years for it to grow. And we need to dominate one party. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, splitting the opposition to the Dems, that'd be good. We need to split the Dems up. They already got the little bit of battle. The LGs and Bs, they want to separate themselves from the Ts. So there's something there. How's the chicken? The one that was in here, based chicken is waiting for us in heaven. I had to go ahead and put her down, unfortunately. She was not getting better, and she was starting to decline in her health. And so, unfortunately, she didn't make it. I have another chicken, the little one, that was attacked by a hawk. Maybe you're talking about that one. Inside, can't walk. Very similar situation. Might not make it that much longer because I have a trip coming up, and I'm not going to hire a crippled chicken babysitter for a week. So that's just the life of raising chickens and giving them the freedom that they have. My chickens are just free. They have safe places that they can go to and shelter at night and stuff like that. But the yard is back there for them, and they got about an acre and a half to play. But anyways, with that, you guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I'm going to go ahead and close us out with the verse of the day from the YouVersion Bible app. This is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. That's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. And it probably doesn't apply to any of us because we're all old. No, always good. So anyways, with that, you guys, I'll just say I hope everybody had a good weekend. I hope all you fathers out there enjoyed your Father's Day. And want to remind everybody to double check that you're subscribed, hit the like button. If you want to join the Discord, that link is in the description. If you want to check out my main channel, America First TV, that link is down there as well. Atlas's link to his channel is down there. What else do we got? And just a reminder, make sure you're here on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Haven't started working on what we forgot Wednesdays yet for this week, but probably have a couple of things to highlight. We'll see. It's one of those things I like to incorporate into a current story and then bring up something from the past that we definitely probably forgot, but it's still super valid. Just because so many things happen in the news that it's important to bring up some of these things, right? And keep them fresh in the memory. They want to memory hole so many things in our past so they can get away with it again in the future. And it's important that we remember so that we don't repeat, the mistakes or let them get away with the bullshit over and over and over again. So with that, like I was just saying, catch the live show, this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And been going live sporadically, watching these protests, the war, all the riots, all this type of stuff. And so you don't want to miss that, but be on the alert. Make sure your notifications are turned on just in case so you don't miss one of those extra streams. And with that, I'll just say Christ is King. I love you guys for showing up and being in chat. It's been a great time these last couple hours spending with you guys. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Christ is King, everybody. Always remember that.
With war rolling and with thug, we here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast, we breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street, keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas thugs, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.